computer. Hi, this is Stuart Nachbar with Educated Quest. With me today is Hannah Siegel. Hannah is a friend, daughter of a friend of mine in Southern California. Her mother, Donna, and I work in the same profession, but she is the more important person today. She is a junior at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Did I get that right?
San Luis Obispo, yeah, pretty dead still.
Communications major. And we're also going to talk a little bit about Week of Welcome, which is a very unique freshman orientation at a very big school. Hannah, thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And when you were looking at colleges back when you were in high school, what were you looking for?
I was looking for a school that was not too small and not too big, and also one that was not too far but not too close to home. And I'm about a 3-hour drive away from Cal Poly, so I think that's about perfect. But I wanted to be somewhere where I had an experience that was tailored to what I want to do and something that didn't pigeonhole me, if that makes sense. So, what I really like about Cal Poly is that it's a big school, but the classes are like pretty small. So I have a lot of like hands-on experience working with people, and I've gotten to know people pretty well through school.
Now, what are you going to learn in the communications major that you already learned and are about to learn?
So communications, everyone kind of says is very broad and versatile in the classes. But I really like that because I have come to learn that I want to be a writer, but I didn't know that from the beginning. So I didn't want to go directly into journalism, but I like it because there's a bit of marketing and PR. There's a lot of research, which I really like as well. So I already took a class on research and persuasion. I'm taking another class on persuasion in the future. And then I think I'm gonna take some more like media studies related classes in my upper division courses.
I do a little homework before I do these interviews. In Cal
Mhm.
Poly, there were two phrases I heard were real important. One
Yeah.
is upside down curriculum, and the other
Okay.
is learn by doing.
Yes.
How has your program been upside down? Did you take things in a freshman year that you might have had to wait to take at another school?
Funny enough, I had actually not heard that term before. When you asked me the question, I immediately thought of learn by doing. Um, I think what's interesting about Cal Poly, this I don't necessarily love about Cal Poly, is that you do have to declare your major before you go in because it's a state school and it is hard to switch your major, especially if you're switching across colleges. But I feel that I've learned a lot and am more prepared because I have an internship right now and I feel prepared with my lower division classes that I've taken. And yeah, I feel like Cal Poly's done a good job preparing me, if that makes sense, for like the upside down learning, because I've learned a lot of broad and now I can kind of pick where I want to go and then take more specific classes based on the ones that I've liked.
What were your freshman communications courses?
I took communications 102, which was basically just public speaking. And I took mostly general education courses, but I took interpersonal communication, which was a lot about relationships and in the workplace, and then also organizational comms, which is like a lot more about like workplace relationships and how to conduct yourself in the workplace and how to communicate with people in a business setting.
And was this the major you checked off when you applied?
Yeah, I went in communications.
And could you have picked another major halfway through, or
You
you're pretty much locked in?
You can, but you have to maintain a certain grade point average, and it is hard. If I wanted to switch to something else, and I'm in the College of Liberal Arts, so if I wanted to switch my major within that college, it would be easier,
Okay.
but it's a lot harder to switch colleges.
And when you were looking at colleges, did you look at other schools besides Cal Poly for what you wanted?
Yes, I was looking at a lot of different types of schools. I was actually going to swim in college. So I made the decision not to very last minute, but I was looking at some East Coast schools and other schools in California.
And do you have friends who go to the UCs?
Yes, I have many friends that go to a lot of the different UCs.
And how would you compare their experience to yours so far?
I feel like it depends on the person, but I don't think that I would be as happy if I was at UC because a lot of their classes are lecture halls and they're research-based schools, and I feel like I get very like good one-on-one time with my professors if I want to. Like it's very accessible to go to office hours. And I feel like I don't retain information as well in class if I'm sitting there taking notes. I like a little bit of that, but also I like being able to work on projects because that really helps my learning and talking to the professors and having a relationship with them and my classmates.
Are you involved with extracurriculars too?
Yeah, so I have a job like outside of campus. I work at a daycare, but that's like not on campus. So on campus, I am involved in a sorority, and I also am doing week of welcome for the for freshman orientation, and I am about to join the American Marketing Association as well.
For a week of welcome,
Mhm.
it really is a week.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
what happens from the first day to the last day?
So it's freshman orientation and it's the week that they move in. So they don't really know each other, but we take groups of kids who usually live like in the same halls and we group them up and we educate them based on like standard, I guess like freshman orientation. So like drug and alcohol, hazing training, sexual assault training, just all that sort of stuff. And then just like general overviews of Cal Poly specifically, along with campus tours, but also we mix in bonding activities for the kids and then we kind of like, as the leaders, choose their own schedules through the week so we can take them places in San Luis Obispo. And then we have like a lot of really cool places off campus, like to go eat. And we have like sand dunes and beaches that we like to go to. I'm probably going to take the kids kayaking. Um, and yeah, I'm really excited. We usually take them to like a football game or sometimes like our ASI, which is kind of like ASB, like type thing. But they usually set up a concert or something that you can go to and take the kids to. So it's kind of up to us.
And this is called what part of California is the Central Coast it's called?
Yeah, it's the Central Coast.
And is that area, if you wanted to bring a name performer to campus, is the population large enough for that? A
I
name
would say that
musician
Central.
or something, a musician, for instance.
Mhm. Um, well, I'm not sure if this is like exactly answering the question, but Cal Poly is like we have a lot of different things that you can do. But I would say it's mainly targeted for like engineers. Our architecture program is huge. And then also business. Like our College of Liberal Arts is smaller, and like music and theater are smaller, but there definitely are a good amount of people that do those things as well.
What I meant was to have concerts to bring some bring an
Oh,
entertainer.
oh. Sorry, I interpreted the question.
It's
Um,
okay.
yeah, I would say it's definitely not as big as LA or San Luis, or San Francisco, but we have had a few like really fun people. We had Jack Harlow in January, which was really fun. So like some big name ones, and then a lot of like DJs or like indie artists that are a little bit smaller. They can like come to our town as well. And then it's also only like a 3 hour drive from to SF or to LA. So sometimes if people want to go to like a bigger concert, then they do the drive.
And is it easy or hard to have a car there?
Freshmen, like really hard, but other than that, really easy. You're actually, I think freshmen aren't allowed.
Could you do without one for 4 years if you had to?
Yeah, you could. It's just a lot easier to have your car. Like I really like having mine there.
And if you were to meet an incoming freshman and
Mhm.
talk to them, what are three things you, other than forgetting about school for a moment, in fact, you got to go to
Okay.
classes. What are three things you recommend they do for fun?
I would
For fun.
say to get involved, whether that be like a club sport or like a fraternity or sorority or like a club of something that might interest you, just to get involved because for the most part, people at Cal Poly are really friendly and it's a really good way to meet people and explore your interests. Because we have a lot of really great things to offer since it is a pretty big school. So that would be one. Another one would be to make relationships with your professors and go to office hours or make relationships with people in your classes because even though it is big school, you're going to see the same faces in your major and it is a lot more helpful if you can have them like help you through school and also to make friends. And lastly is to just take advantage of what San Luis Obispo has to offer, because I know college can be tiring, but there's a lot of great things like downtown or at the beach, and just to like go out and explore if you can.
Now, are there mountain people and beach people?
Yeah, I would say it's mostly like beach, because mountains we just have like hikes. It's not like super like mountainy, but definitely a little bit of everything. We have like granola people and like surfers, like I surf a lot. It's yeah,
But
it's a little bit of everything.
Poly Peak, which I saw with the big P on the top, that's
Oh,
not
the
like a,
P.
yeah, that's not like a climbing mountain, like at the, if
Oh, it's
you
just a
make it all the
walk.
way up, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's just a walk. It's easy. I did it like the other day.
Yeah, and I've heard the Three Peaks story, that you have to do all the peaks.
Yeah, so it's called the Tri-Tip Challenge, and there's a Madonna Mountain, Bishop Peak, and then the P, and you hike all three in one day, and you go to this restaurant called Firestone, and then you order a tri-tip sandwich. Which I can't do because I can't eat red meat, but I've done all three of the mountains. But yeah, it's like a thing.
And if you go off campus to eat, you said you don't eat red meat. Is there like something for everybody's taste?
Yes, I would say San Luis Obispo is very strong on like American food more than like anything else. Like they have good Thai food too. They definitely have everything. Not everything's gonna be at. I mean, I'm from Los Angeles, so I'm a little bit spoiled with that type of stuff. But they have everything, but their strong suits are definitely like American food or bar food or like barbecue.
Now, now it seems like housing's kind of tight there.
Yeah.
Does your sorority have a house?
Yes.
And is that where you'll live? Is that where you're going to live?
No. So my sorority only has like 5 or 6 people living in the house, because I feel like some of them are bigger and some of the fraternity houses are definitely a lot bigger, but they're not nearly as big as how they are in like Alabama or like Oregon. Because we're not as heavy on Greek life. I like it better that way personally, but you can live in the house, but most people don't.
Why is that? Because usually, like when I've been to other schools, I see these like fraternity houses. They look like mansions,
Yeah, they're huge.
and I've seen sorority houses that look like that too. And a
Mhm.
lot of people live in them.
Yeah.
Why is it, why is it so different at Cal Poly? Is it because people want to live off campus after the
Yeah.
first year?
So our like we don't have like a stereotypical Greek row, but they're all like in the same area. I would say probably I don't know the percentage, but there are a good amount of people involved in Greek life. Like it's definitely not small. I think we have 10 sororities and 13 fraternities, but that doesn't include like cultural or like professional frats. So we definitely have a lot. I just feel like it's not as like time consuming as it is at other schools, if that makes sense. Because some schools, like I have friends where they like live in the house and they always have events like every single day. Like we'll have events and date parties like more than occasionally. Just it's not my entire personality at the school is my sorority. It's just a part of what I do, and it does take up a lot of time, just definitely not all of it.
And is the bid process kind of similar to what it would be at at a more traditional school, or is it just very more laid back?
Surprisingly, I think the recruitment process, at least for girls, is not as laid back as it not like should be, but it definitely is probably almost as intense as it is at a bigger school. Definitely not exactly there, but it's pretty intense. The pledging process and
And
the
when are you allowed to pledge?
um
Some
well
schools
we
let you
have
do it your freshman year, some schools make you wait till your sophomore. That's what I
you
wondered.
can do it freshman year
Okay.
or sophomore. You can do it like anytime.
And would things be different if you were not in the sorority?
I would say definitely, because it is a source of how I made a lot of my friends. And I have a position in my sorority. I am an assistant secretary, so I'm assistant GK. So that takes up a bit of my time too. And I just like feel like the circles of the people that I've met, and also a lot of my social like events are based on like sorority events or fraternity events. So a lot of the people that I've met come from those sort of events too. So I feel like my school experience would definitely be very different if I wasn't in a sorority.
And everybody's experiences, there's enough room for anyone to just kind of design their own thing.
Yes, definitely.
And when when you were a freshman, what was the housing like living on campus?
Okay, so I graduated high school in 2020, so it was like right in the thick of COVID. So I actually didn't choose to go to campus
Okay.
until my spring term, so like the end of my freshman year, because I didn't want to because everyone was getting COVID, and also housing was weird because usually you have like one, two, or three roommates, but they kept it to one person per room, so it's very isolated.
So you
Um,
had half a year in a single room.
Not even half a year, like it was like 2 months, but yeah.
Oh my God.
It
Do you have your own
was
room at home?
exactly, and I didn't make that many friends because I feel like it was like it's harder, especially like going late. But yeah, my freshman dorm experience was far from normal.
Yeah, that's been something. I'm kind of sorry you didn't get to have what we normally have. Your sophomore year, then you lived off campus.
I lived off campus in an apartment, but it was barely off campus. It was like a 2-minute walk to campus.
How hard was it to find an apartment?
To find an apartment, not very hard. Um, Actually, St. Louis Obispo is really hard to find housing. For me to find an apartment wasn't that bad because um like sophomore year housing is like easier to find than if you're trying to find a house or something that's like completely off campus, because mine was technically an off-campus apartment, but it's like all student housing basically. So it's like basically living in a dorm.
So you could walk to campus
It
from
was
where you
easy,
lived.
but now I live in a townhouse that's farther, and finding housing is so hard. You have to like look 6 months in advance and like sign leases super early.
Do you think it would be different if there was if there had been no pandemic and you moved in freshman year like anyone else would?
I think it would have been different socially, and I definitely would have met different people and had all new experiences my freshman year, because I felt like my sophomore year was my freshman year. Like I was so new to everything. Like I had never had an in-person class before. Like all my sorority Zooms were online, so I really didn't know what college was like. But housing wise, it's always been a mess trying to find housing, so I don't think that affected it at all.
And did you ever feel that, wow, is this going to end? Was there ever a feeling when you talk to friends or when you're listening to into a class is like, is this going to end already? Am I going to get to school finally?
Yeah. I honestly, my family took the pandemic pretty seriously, and I found myself like disappointed with other people's behaviors. But after the first like year, I was like, I'm ready to be back in school because I really like school and I learn a lot better in person. And maybe like part of what makes me more motivated is being able to go to class and then go to the gym and then go to the library and just have like events in my day that get me out of the house and doing different things so that I stay like busy. And when I was like not able to work or like go to in-person class, it was a lot harder for me to motivate myself. So my grades were actually worse when school was online, even though you could like look up the answers. So yeah.
So being on campus or being near campus, you could pretty
Mhm.
much walk everywhere you had to go.
Yeah.
So if you wanted like to go to class and you go back to your home and then you make something, or you go back to class again, you grab lunch, you can, go swimming if you want to go swimming or surfing. You could do all that. Pretty much walk everywhere.
Yeah, not surfing though, because then you have to drive like 20 minutes to the beach. But if you want to like go to campus or go to the gym, like that's all on campus. So I would just walk everywhere. I don't
What
use it.
is
Some people do.
what is something you wish they would have that you hear your friends at other schools have?
Oh, okay. This is actually kind of like so the beginning of the school year we had like two like sexual assault cases on campus, and they
Mm.
like sent like an email about how they were going to have more like security and like access to like free rides, and it was very performative and people still felt very unsafe, and I don't think they handled the situation well at all. I think that we have like a shuttle that takes, but it only goes to a certain time and it's only on like certain days. I think I'm not exactly sure, but basically I wish there was like a better system of being able to like get home at night if you need to, or if you feel like that will make you safer like on campus.
All right. So in other words, the vehicles running more often or
Mhm.
being more responsive, they come to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then one of the emails said like that there was going to be someone on call, like a police officer or someone will like escort you if you're like alone and want to ride. But it was only on certain days of the week. And then one of my friends called and they were like being rude and they were like, oh, we don't have anyone on call. So that was like false advertising. So I think just like more follow through on what they said that they were going to do, and just like more consistent, like safe
When
ways.
no, when people apply, as you said
Mhm.
earlier, they have to have a major in mind.
Yeah.
How would you recommend, people think about that? Because there is there's a journalism major and there's a communications major.
Yeah.
There's architecture and there's city planning. There's different kinds of engineering.
Yes. So I would say there's certain majors where like you should know what you want to do, which sucks because if you're 17 or 18, no one knows exactly what they want to do. I happen to have a good idea, but um the architecture program is 5 years, which is, and then you're like with you have your master's, or you can be like, I don't know exactly how it works, but you can be an architect after 5 years. And most people that I know that chose architecture are not unsure about being an architect. So I'd say if you're an architecture, like if you're an architect, like Cal Poly is a really good school for that. But don't be like, oh, I don't know. Like you should pretty much know. If you want to switch into it, it's really hard to switch into. So if it interests you, I would pick that first. But other than that, I would say just give it your best guess. Maybe like talk to people about it. Um, Engineering, because sometimes for certain schools, people try to pick a major that'll be like easier to get into and then switch their major. But you can't always do that at Cal Poly. But I know people that have switched from one type of engineering to another and have had not that much of a problem with it. But like, I feel like knowing that you want to be an engineer is a good first step. And then just apply to some sort of engineering. But then you can, that sounds attractive, but then you can like switch it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. The thing I'm thinking is like you may have somebody thinking between electrical and computer or electrical and mechanical, and that seems to be where it gets hard. You don't really know. And at another school, you take a core, and then you don't decide until either your last quarter or maybe
Yeah.
the beginning of your sophomore year.
Yeah. We have like concentrations for business administration and for civil engineering, you can pick between concentrations. You have to take an entry class for all of those and then pick your concentration. But it's hard to know that you want to be a civil engineer versus like
Mm.
a industrial. But people have had not that much of a difficult time switching types of engineering
Now,
because all of the entry level classes are the same.
now, if you're in your communications major, you've taken courses in public relations and advertising.
Not
Um,
exactly.
I'm
That's like more
sorry.
business, but yeah.
I'm sorry for jumping.
Oh no, you're totally good.
But if you were, let's say you wanted to write for PR or you wanted to know more about marketing, could you do a minor in the business school if you wanted to?
That's what's a bummer because they do have them, but there was a minor that was called like integrated marketing and communications, which I wanted to do, but then they discontinued it. And sometimes I wanted to take principles of marketing, but it's hard because those classes are like sometimes need prerequisites, or they're reserved for like business majors that need to take a marketing class to declare their concentration. And then also like you need certain classes to graduate, and you can't take that many free electives that aren't for your major. And I also have a minor, but you can, it's just a state school, so the classes are impacted, but you can, it's just, it depends.
What is your minor?
Sociology.
And you could take all the sociology classes you want.
There are
Mhm.
certain ones that you have to take, and then certain like electives that you have to take at like a certain level. I think it's like 300 level or higher, and then there's a couple that you choose between. But yeah, I have an easier time getting those classes since I am a minor, I declared it as my minor.
You're doing it. You did an internship this summer.
Yeah.
And how did you get the internship?
So I heard about it because my mom knows the girl that runs the company. It's like her own company. And she has 4 interns. One of them is a communications intern. So then I sent in my application and gave her my resume. And then I did an interview and I got the job.
And okay, so you didn't find out about it through Cal Poly. You found out about it through your
No.
mother.
Yeah.
For you, any of your friends find something through the university?
Yeah. So my best friend is a civil engineer and she works at like a structural engineering firm. She's an intern and she got it through someone that she met at a career fair that was hosted at Cal Poly, like through Cal Poly. So yeah. And then I also get emails sometimes from like the head of the communications department will be like, oh, internship availability. So you can like look at that too.
And are they fairly open to coming? Could you bring your resume to them easily, and they'll help you if you want to find something
Um,
for next year or for a quarter?
I personally haven't done that, so I don't know how good they are about following up on their resources. But the career fairs, people get interviews from career fairs all the time. And then to go to one of those, you should have copies of your resume or access to like email it really quickly. But we host a decent amount of career fairs. I'm pretty sure we have like 3 or 4 every year, which is really good. So I'm glad about that. And people seem to make good connections or like at least gain some sort of experience from networking with people there. So I think that's useful also, even if you don't get a job.
Last question.
Hmm.
For people who are not from California
Yeah.
and have never been to California, what are the things that you would tell them, now, especially someone from New Jersey? What would you tell them about California to expect that they would not likely see if they were on the East Coast?
About California or Cal Poly?
Both. Well, living in the Golden State.
Yeah. So obviously not every part of California is as like golden and beautiful as it sounds, but Cal Poly and the Central Coast is almost as good as it gets because you do have the beach and it is sunny a lot of the time. Um, it's really funny because it is like kind of like Cowtown because we have a big like agriculture school. So there's like cowboys walking around on campus sometimes. We have like a rodeo. And sometimes that's not something
Really?
that you would expect because we're not in the South, but it's kind of funny. And it's kind of like farm meets beach, which is really interesting combination, but I like it. But that's I think what to expect from Cal Poly in that part of California.
Hannah, thank you for spending the time with me today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
And